Okay, I wanted to start with reading a little part of a motivational speech of Al Pacino in which he says, "We are in hell right now. We can stay here and get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell 1 inch at a time." The idea to introduce this concept of the ice and the freezing is that we have fallen in terms of frequencies to very low levels, which in all of the mythology and all of the sacred literature is represented as ice or hell. And the whole idea is that, as in this motivational speech, is that we need to climb back out of hell, out of this this domain where everything is frozen and everything is lifeless. In the movie of Frozen, the recent movie, we saw that this queen, this ice queen, she had this property about her that she could freeze things, and she was even freezing the whole city called Arendelle. And they were even referring to it as a kind of a sorcery.
Sorcery.
At a certain point, she even started to have that effect on her sister, and then in the movie is put how what it was doing to her is that it was freezing her heart. So I think the challenge is to break this down into really understandable concepts or ideas, because what I wanted to explain today is that all of the whole archetype of the ice and the freezing is really going back to the stairway in which there are steps down to the lower levels beyond our spectrum, and there are steps up to the highest levels. And what you find there is that at the lowest levels you find what in the certain traditions is referred to as the black sun. And then the black meaning here, not in terms of color, but in terms of absence of the light. And then at the higher rungs of the stairway, you would find then what they would call then the white sun, which is actually the inverse of the black sun. But that sun would be like a sun that is eternally not hot and not warm, like an eternal sunset. And then the sun below would then be the sun that freezes everything. And then we would be in the middle. And what we're finding, and what I've always been explaining in terms of the two timelines, is that the world is actually in between these two parallel worlds. These are parallel worlds. But thus, if our frequency goes up or down, we would then start to interface with these two other worlds, which is represented also in the literature as the cube, the black cube, and the cube which is the New Jerusalem, and the cube which is represents a world, another space-time. So to the degree that we descend in frequency, which is what Al Pacino is referring to that extent, we start to interface with that other parallel world, which then in the spiritual, religious traditions would be referred to as hell. And that comes with the whole symbology of how in hell freezes cold, because everything there is basically dead in terms of human feeling. You would get the reptile, which would be what people would refer to as cold-blooded. Or you would get that the heart freezes cold in terms of the movie Frozen. And then you would get there also the whole idea of the symbols of the doll, the wooden doll that has no more feelings, or the robot, or the machine, or the frozen princess. All of that would be, you would also find in the movie of Vanilla Ice, of where Tom Cruise goes and gets himself frozen until they find a cure. So all of this is all of these symbols are basically representing that how we reach to the lower frequency. When we reach and how we reach to the lowest frequencies, we basically go into a kind of a lower superposition or a frozen state in which we basically move to another dimension, which would then be the parallel world, referred to as darkness or hell. And then you would find then that all of these symbols, what they are representing is a passage or a interfacing with a lower world, which is where we would find then the black sun, which we know that was very prevalent in the whole Nazi world, that they worship this black sun, and then you find also the whole tradition of where the idea is that the Nazis then they went underground, but underground would be then is that they went to Antarctica, which is then be this frozen area, and that they went into this joint venture with the beings that would be inhabit interdimensional beings, which would be then in this other parallel world, which would then be referred to in religious tradition as the fallen ones or the fallen angels, and which we today see as the aliens, which would then be these interdimensional beings which would come from that lower parallel world. You see, so what this is all showing you is a kind of an interdimensional map of reality and how we are really moving. We're at the point now where one could say that we in the middle, we are now interfacing and maybe even at the point of merging with entering these parallel worlds from the lower half and from the higher half. And the other side then would then be also experiencing like the symptoms of interfacing and maybe even upgrading to that other parallel world, which is described also in the literature as another world, but then where there is no more, where there is that light that doesn't cast a shadow, which is also referred to as the great light.